Up until a few days ago, I didn't think I liked Super Monkey Ball. The only game in the series I've ever owned was Super Monkey Ball Jr. for the GBA. I bought it as a kid not because I liked Monkey Ball, but because I loved the look of 3D graphics on the GBA, and Super Monkey Ball Jr. was one of the most impressive and playable 3D games on the system. I had rented the OG Super Monkey Ball on GameCube from Blockbuster, and I hated it. I just couldn't get to grips with the controls, and I didn't have the patience as a kid to try the same stages over and over. After the first few worlds, I bounced off of it so hard that for over 20 years, I haven't touched this series. Until now. Enter Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. Something about this game intrigued me. There have been two previous Super Monkey Ball games released on the Switch, Banana Mania and Banana Blitz, both remakes of previous titles, so I wasn't really interested in either of them. Banana Rumble, though, for some reason got my attention. Maybe because it was developed by RGG, the makers of the Yakuza franchise, or maybe it was because I've been playing so many large-scale RPGs recently that I was looking for something a bit more straightforward. For whatever reason, I decided to give Banana Rumble a shot. Cut to a few days later, and now I own Banana Blitz and Banana Mania. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble got me. I had a blast with this game. I am officially a Super Monkey Ball fan, and I'm glad to finally be here. Before we get into the review, it would mean a lot if you liked and subscribed to the channel. Now, onto the review. For those that don't know, Super Monkey Ball is a precision platformer in the vein of those old wooden boxes with marbles inside, where you tilt the box to avoid the holes and get the marble through the maze. Except instead of marbles, you play as a variety of monkeys trapped in balls. Super Monkey Ball is truly both rage-inducing and euphoric in equal measure. I'm not one for throwing my controller, but after losing to the same stage for the 35th time, my heart rate is through the roof, my palms are sweaty, and it is hard not to want to break things. But then, on the 36th try, I miraculously fly through the goalpost and a sweet wave of relief, pride, and gratitude washes over my body. Then I begin the next stage and oh my god. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble starts by making you think that it's your friend. It's fun and cute and has upbeat, poppy, feel-good music. But by World 8, you realize that Super Monkey Ball is not your friend, but I sure am addicted to it. The new mechanic introduced here is a spin dash, basically lifted wholesale from Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's a fun addition. Whereas in Banana Blitz you are given a traditional jump button, the spin dash builds up and unleashes a burst of momentum. This move will have you hurtling over ledges, flying off jumps, and rocketing down ramps at insane speeds. It's a hard maneuver to pull off, but it opens up countless possibilities for expert platforming. I've heard that one of the main draws in Super Monkey Ball is trying to break levels, meaning performing crazy moves that allow you to skip over entire sections of stages, jumping off of ledges into oblivion only to miraculously land on a platform below. And now I get it. At first, I would follow the traditional path, moving slowly across platforms, nudging the control stick ever so gently to thread the needle-thin path, and making it to the goal just in time. As I progressed and got the hang of the controls, I started being a little more playful and free, trying to use the spin dash to catapult myself high into the air in the hopes of hitting the bullseye on the way down. Either method works, and it's part of the genius behind Super Monkey Ball. If you want to play it safe, that's always a good bet, but if you want to reenact scenes from Jackass and hope to God your trajectory was on point, you do you. The physics here are great, as far as I can tell. I played around 2 hours of both Blitz and Mania for comparison, and I've come to the conclusion that Rumble feels the most refined of the three Switch games. Blitz was very touchy, with tiny amounts of input making for frantic and exaggerated movements, whereas Mania felt a bit stiffer, like there were guardrails in place to keep things from getting too crazy. They each work, and they're all fun, but I feel like Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble really hits a sweet spot in terms of physics and controls. I know that there is a ton of discussion online regarding how these newer games have never really captured the feel of the originals, but for a newbie like me, who's never spent much time with the original games, I felt like Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble controlled exactly how I wanted it to. It was as precise as I needed it to be, and flexible enough to allow for experimentation and risk-taking. I'll have to spend more time with Blitz and Mania to really get a feel for them, but of the three, I think that Rumble feels the best. I also loved the variety of levels on offer here. Not only do you have the 100 main story mode stages, but you also get 100 additional bonus stages as well. Some are simple mazes, others are precision movement challenges across razor-thin platforms, some are momentum-based, and still others revolve around simple puzzles like flipping switches or moving golden balls around. Each level also has 3 missions. Complete the level in a certain time, collect all of the bananas, and find the golden banana. I think it's almost impossible to complete all 3 of these missions in one run in most of the levels in this game. This means that each level can be completed multiple times with different objectives. And each of these missions demands a slightly different way of playing the level. Collecting all the bananas requires you to be more cautious, finding the golden banana requires really precise platforming, and completing the level in a certain time requires some bombastic risk-taking. This adds a ton of replay value if the core gameplay gets its hooks in you. There's an excellent level of variety here, with new ideas constantly being thrown at you. Although some stages are so extraordinarily difficult that I was very thankful for the inclusion of a helper mode. If you die a few times on a stage, the game will ask you if you'd like some help. That help comes in the form of a guide showing you a route through the stage, as well as the ability to rewind. The guide is fine, but the rewind feature is a godsend for being able to see all the stages. As I am now in my mid-30s, I am just not as good at video games as I used to be. Some of these precision platforming sections are just too difficult for my aging reflexes. By utilizing the rewind feature, I was able to brute force my way through every stage that I was unable to complete normally. Fall off a ledge? Rewind. Miss a jump? Rewind. Didn't get enough momentum? Rewind. As far as I can tell, neither Blitz nor Mania have a similar rewind ability, so I'm not sure I'll ever be able to see all the stages in either of those games. And I'm really grateful that it was included in Banana Rumble. Okay, so stick with me, because I'm gonna make an incredibly cliche, but also I feel warranted comparison. Playing Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble makes me feel the same way I do when I play a FromSoft game. Super Monkey Ball is the Dark Souls of platformers, kinda. Hear me out. Fighting a new enemy in Dark Souls is a lot like starting a new stage in Banana Rumble. At first, you'll die, but then you'll slowly learn the dips and dives of the enemy or stage, moving further until dying again in a new combo or ramp, dying again and again and again, until ultimately, with sweaty palms and cramping thumbs, you succeed and it feels glorious. It's not just that they're both difficult, it's that you are learning by failing. You should expect to fail over and over in Banana Rumble. In the same way, Dark Souls expects you to die. You learn the stages in Super Monkey Ball the same way you learn the enemies in Dark Souls. And once you've gained the muscle memory to complete a stage, it'll stick with you, much like how learning to defeat enemies in Dark Souls sticks with you. I am very confident that I could go back to Dark Souls 1 and defeat the Bell Gargoyle on my first try because I know every one of its attacks. I know how to avoid them and I know how to win. I also feel confident that I could go back and beat many of the levels that were giving me trouble in Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble for that same reason. I know the stage, I know how to navigate its tricky parts, and what once took me 30 tries, I could likely do on my first or second attempt. The repetition of death, learning from it and determining a means for success, and ultimately developing muscle memory that sticks with you are the pieces that make Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble remind me so much of Dark Souls. Not to mention the butt clenching and sweaty palms. They may seem worlds apart, but no game has reminded me of the physical experience of playing Dark Souls as much as Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. Beyond all else though, this game is a freaking blast. It's challenging, but feels fair. It genuinely feels like a test of skill, and I've never felt myself getting better at a game quicker than with Super Monkey Ball. I found it very difficult to put this game down. Visually, the game is fun and colorful and really exudes that Sega charm. They've done an excellent job maintaining the core of what makes Sega games feel like they exist in a Sega universe, a world of speed, vibrancy, points galore, and an old-school arcade charm. It's hard to put into words the precise X factor of a Sega game, but those that know. And Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble has that Sega charm in spades. The music is exactly what you'd expect from a game like this too. It's saccharine and poppy, bubbly and fun. It reminds me a lot of walking through the Sega arcade building in Tokyo back in the mid-2000s. If the music doesn't suit you though, this is a game where you could very easily have on a podcast or a personal music choice playing in the background, and it wouldn't lessen the experience. Once you're locked into the zone here, you won't really be thinking about the music, but it does set a good Sega vibe. Now, let's talk about the 5 multiplayer modes: Race, Banana Hunt, Ba-Boom, Goal Rush, and Robot Smash. Each mode allows for up to 16 players, and that's a problem. But first, let's go over each mode. Race is exactly what you'd expect. You're given a few tracks to race on, with weapons to use a la Mario Kart. One nice touch is that the tracks dynamically change depending on if you're in the front or far behind. If you're at the back of the pack, the level will be easier, whereas the first place player will have a seriously difficult track to contend with. This is a very clever way of dealing with rubber banding. Next up is Banana Hunt, where you'll roll around in a contained arena trying to collect the most bananas. It's like a variation on Mario Kart's battle mode. Then we have Ba-Boom, which is essentially hot potato. There are 5 rounds, and it's your job to avoid the player carrying the bomb, and to pass the bomb off if you're stuck with it. Then we have Goal Rush, which is kind of like skee-ball. You're broken up into teams, and you all roll down a ramp trying to hit different goals. Each goalpost has a different number of points, and the stage changes as the timer progresses, opening up new routes and goals. Finally, we come to Robot Smash. It's exactly what it sounds like. There are robots in an arena, and you and your team compete to destroy more robots than your opponent. And that's it. I know people laud other Super Monkey Ball titles for their exceptional minigames, but I'm not sure anyone is going to hold these battle modes in high regard. Across the board, they're pretty awful. I did not enjoy them to varying degrees, from middling annoyance to outright loathing. But as a whole, battle mode is a pile of monkey poo. There are 2 key issues here. First, while the main game runs at 60 frames per second, these battle modes run at only 30. Normally, 30 frames per second is a perfectly reasonable frame rate, but not here. The level of precision needed to control your monkey ball is just too demanding to feel fully in control at 30 FPS. All of the skills I had developed in the main game vanished as soon as I started playing this mess of modes. And secondly, 16 players is way too many for these types of games. Every mode quickly becomes a chaotic mess. RGG tried to do the whole Fall Guy thing, and it just didn't work out. I played each of these a few times and have absolutely no desire to ever return to them. Do not buy this game for these battle modes. They're not good. On top of these modes, there's a pretty substantial store with various cosmetics that you can buy with in-game currency, as well as additional DLC characters to purchase. I did not expect this game to convert me, but here we are. I am officially a big fan of Monkey Ball. As soon as I finish the bonus harder missions in Banana Rumble, I plan to play through Banana Mania, Banana Blitz, Junior, and maybe even some of the DS and 3DS games. I'm so hooked on Monkey Ball, I've literally been dreaming about it. I see monkeys rolling around in balls when I close my eyes, and my hands hurt from gripping the controller so hard this past week. If you're on the fence about this series, Banana Rumble is the perfect starting place. The difficulty curve is generous and eases you into the really demanding challenges, teaching you the ropes before throwing you into the deep end. And for those like me without the dexterity for the ultimate challenge levels, the rewind feature ensures that you'll be able to see everything this game has to offer. Despite the awful multiplayer modes, this game is totally worth the price. I'm going to give Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble on the Nintendo Switch an 8.6 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like this video, it would mean a lot if you subscribe to the channel. What's your favorite Monkey Ball game? Are there any I should outright skip? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next week.